And we're live. Hi, this is Maha Bali from Cairo, Egypt, and I am joined with a lot of people from all over the world, from 3 different time zones in like 7 countries. But mainly we're talking about the European MOOCs conference, which is happening right now in Mons, Belgium. And we have with us on site Inge de Waard and Whitney Kilgore, who I'm going to let them introduce themselves very quickly, let the other virtual participants introduce themselves quickly, and then we're going to ask some questions to Inge and Whitney. So go ahead, Inge and Whitney.
I'm a PhD student investigating self-directed learning in MOOCs, and I'm generally just Inge de Waard.
She's the fabulous Inge de Waard, and I'm Whitney Kilgore, and it's great to be here. Part of the reason I came to this conference in the first place was to get to meet Inge de Waard, and I can check that off my bucket list now. And it's just been an absolutely fantastic conference. Lots of voices from around the European area, and we've got some representation from the US and at least one from Canada, who should be joining us eventually. So good to see everyone.
Yes, and I see Sharon coming up as well. Join us.
Do you mind being recorded and on air?
I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't mind. I'm just conscious.
Well, then, hello.
Hello, hi.
Hi. So Sian Bayne is also one of the plenary speakers or keynote speakers for this conference. So just introduce yourself quickly, and we'll come back and ask you some questions before your.
Hi, I'm Sian Bayne, University of Edinburgh. I'm one of the keynote speakers. I'm on, I think, in about an hour. It's great to see you.
Good to see you too. So I'll give everybody a chance to unmute themselves. Just tell us where they are right now, and then we'll come and ask Shawn a question so she can go eat lunch and get ready for her keynote, and then we'll have the rest of our conversation. So Sue, do you want to start? Sue? Oh, you're muted.
That's it. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. I'm Sue Beckingam, or Sue Becks on Twitter, and I'm from Sheffield Hallam University, which is in the UK, north of England, city of Sheffield. I'm an educational developer, but I also teach in computing.
Okay. Rebecca, you are the mastermind behind these kinds of ideas. So.
Yeah, I'm Rebecca Hogue. I'm Maha's co-conspirator. And I am usually located in Santa Clara, California, but today I'm back in Ottawa, Canada, joining from this end of the continent.
Sharon? You're muted. Just unmute yourself. Yes.
There we go. Hello, I'm Sharon. I'm with Sydney University in Australia, and I'm with ODLA, which is the Open and Distance Learning Association for Australasia. So, hi.
Aras? Aras, do you want to go next? Unmute yourself.
Yes. I am Aras Bozkurt from Turkey. I'm a PhD student at Anadolu University. I am a simply leisure learner and freelance scholar.
Okay. And Keith, last but not least.
Hi, I'm Keith Hamon. I teach college writing and literature in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. So Shawn, I'm going to start with you because I know you need to get ready for your keynote. And I first heard about the bot that you used in the e-learning digital cultures MOOC from Aras on Twitter a few days ago, and then I realized that that's the subject of your keynote. Yes. So do you want to give us a preview for people who aren't at the conference?
Yeah, sure. It's actually the talk I'm going to give later on is based on a journal article which has just come out in teaching in higher education, and the article is all about how do we as educators and teachers take a sort of critical approach to teacher automation. You know, because we're used to these discourses that surround teacher automation, which are to do with the kind of efficiency gains we can make by automating the teacher function. We're used to things like adaptive learning and automatic essay scoring and things like that. But are there other more kind of interesting, more critical and nuanced ways we can think about how human teachers might work with code and with automation to do some interesting teaching within a MOOC space? So that's essentially what my talk's going to be about, using the teacher bot that we ran in the e-learning and digital cultures MOOC late last year.
And is the paper open access? Can we send the link to people on Twitter, or is it not?
Yes, it actually is. It's gold open access. So although it's in a subscription journal, that paper is open access. So if you Maha, I don't know if you, I'm not on Twitter right now, but if you,
I'll send it when I find it. I'll look forward to Teaching in Higher Education, right? Okay.
Teaching in Higher Education. It's the most recent issue of that.
Okay. So what were the best? I mean, what are the best aspects and the challenges of doing the bot for that MOOC? I mean, all the participants knew there was a bot there, right? That there was an automated.
Yes, yeah. We never tried to pretend the bot was anything but a bot. I think there are quite a few challenges around it. One, the first challenge really is in kind of this tendency that we have as teachers, I think, to revert to the kind of the idea of the human touch as something which is important to teaching, which it is, absolutely. But we also, it's quite difficult to open up that discourse when we say, what can teacher automation offer us, which is better than only human teaching, and certainly better than only automated teaching. So it's really about, it's a kind of ontological question, really, about boundaries between humans and machines and how we think critically about where those sit. So I think making it clear that developing a teacher bot isn't about, it's not a kind of neoliberal efficiency measure designed to program out to teacher professionalism. On the contrary, it's about thinking newly about teacher professionalism and what we want that to be in a kind of digital era. So, yeah.
That's very interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. So that's a very interesting way of looking at it. It's just, there's also, of course, the danger of people taking it and going in the direction that you didn't mean to, right?
Yes, but that's kind of down to us to make sure we explain it properly.
Right. Right. Does anybody have questions for Sharon? Because I want to give her a chance to relax before her keynote. Does anyone here on the Hangout want to ask her anything? Okay.
Feel free to if you want to read the paper, and just drop me an email.
Yes,
if there's anything.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
After that.
We'll do that. Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Bye, Maha. Nice to see you.
Bye. Take care. Bye. Bye.
Hi.
So you guys, tell us how the Flicked conference is going, and like, where did the idea of a Flicked conference come about? How did that come about?
Well, the idea actually comes from Martin Ebner from Austria, and he wanted to use it in the next eMOOCs, and somehow we wanted to try out a very low version of it. So we thought, how can we do it? And the only thing we had in mind was, okay, let's ask people to make a video, put it on the configs platform, and then they can have a look, and then they can have some discussions. But now one challenge that we faced was, okay, we have all of this, but then people come into the auditorium, and it will be a mix of those who have seen the paper, who have seen the video, who have reflected upon it, and the people who don't. So you have potentially two different kinds of understanding and speeds. Well, you always have it, but in this case would be very specific for those papers. And as a possible solution, we came up with the Pecha Kucha idea, so 20 slides in 20 seconds by each presenter, giving it more speed and enabling more questions and answers to actually happen. And I think that was, but I'm speaking solely for myself, I think that was good in the sense that we had 24 questions during the session, during just the one session, so I don't know about the other flipped mode sessions. And at the beginning, people were hesitant to ask questions, like you have in conferences. Nobody raises arm. But in the end, they were just shouting out questions and really interacting. So I think that was a good side of it. But
oh, yeah. So, Maha, I just realized that because I thought I was just talking to you, that I forgot to introduce myself properly. So I'm a PhD student as well at the University of North Texas, actually candidate now. So I'll do that. Now I'll switch back to Flipped and what it was like. Yeah. So being one of the 10 papers that was chosen for this Flipped model was an honor, and we were so excited to be a part of it. So creating the video was interesting, time-consuming, exciting, and knowing you were going off to be on edX kind of raised the bar on quality and production and what you would normally even do. So I felt very prepared. I was a little nervous when I saw the email about the Pecha Kucha because I hadn't done one before. And then a colleague of mine was going to be traveling with me and wasn't able to make it. So I hope it came across okay.
It was really, really good. Lots of interactions. So.
Well, and I think that the process of preparing for going on the platform made that easier. So, so that all that preparation in advance, I think, made the Pecha Kucha easier. Yep. And then the conversation was wonderful, and Inge brought Belgian chocolates. So I think the conversation and the dialogue that came together in the room was probably about 25% the people in the room and about 75% Inge, because if you have a great moderator, then you know it comes off really well. So she was running around the room and engaging people and taking them chocolates, and so it was very, very fun and interactive in that way as well.
Right, yeah, and I think that's what he was talking about earlier, because he does flipped in his classroom, and he just said chocolate always trumps technique. He just wrote that in the next one. But then he was talking about how challenging it is when you flip, because you have to think about all sorts of other new ways of doing things. So Keith, did you were saying some stuff in the chat. Do you want to say that out loud?
Sure. I was wondering how the flip technique changes the live presentation space. Have you found your interaction with the audience different? Did that come through?
That's a good question, and maybe that's for both of us. I think that it allowed us to not talk as long, but that was partly the Pecha Kucha format. There was a lot of dialogue that had already occurred online. And I think that having the opportunity as a presenter to read the questions, to synthesize your thinking, and to respond to those questions before you ever get on site was very, very helpful. But I do think that it's a lot like a paper I read from the eMOOCs conference last year, where you're designing for the unknown student in a MOOC. This session was really designed for the unknown participant, right? Because we didn't know if they had been on the edX site, or we didn't know what they knew coming in. So we really kind of had to do that in a really bite-sized format, and then continue the conversation with the dialogue. And the questions from the people who had been online kind of stimulated additional questions and thoughts. But
yeah, I think that
was accurate?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Accurate. I didn't lie.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so since Dave isn't here, can you guys tell us about his session from yesterday? So the keynotes were not flipped, right? There were only like 10 good papers that were flipped, and then the keynotes were just presented for the first time in the actual conference, right?
Yep, that's true. And so Dave focused on rhizomatic learning, and specifically the past rhizome learning MOOCs, as well as the present one, who is still running, Rizzo 15, if anyone's interested. And I think he did a really brilliant job, because you can see that he's a teacher, and he engages his audience, and he does this on a seemingly very relaxed way in bringing complex material and pushing people to reflect upon it, because you could see it in the room. So for me, well, the only thing was, and I would have to ask him, he said that he was afraid that it would be too far at a certain extent, because his MOOC, the rhizomatic learning MOOC, is not really similar to the more common MOOC right now, where every content is made. So rhizomatic learning starts with a blank canvas. There is no content, and participants start to build the content in it. But so I thought it was wonderful. But I leave it to.
Oh yeah. So being inside Rhizo and then seeing the presentation was a really amazing experience, because it helped me kind of reflect on what we've been doing the last 5 weeks, and I was impressed with the process and the model and how he presented it. I tried to tweet out as much as I could during that live, but of course, Dave's so future focused, that's under eMOOCs 2105. So yeah, and but the conversation that came out of that was a lot of people trying to figure out how they could pick apart pieces of the Rhizo process and leverage that in their traditional courses or in their online courses. And so the conversation kind of after the keynote was, I was telling Dave if he could just pick apart, unpack how he turns what would be a 3-hour lecture into that little 2-minute snippet that causes us to think about a topic nonstop during just about every waking moment when you're not fully engaged with something else, then that's the magic. That's the part that if we could figure out how to transfer that knowledge to other faculty and help learners think critically and deeply, that could transform the way we teach pedagogically. That sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
Sharon had a question back about the, so I don't know if everybody knows this, but like half of us in this room are Rise of 15 people. So we really know what Whitney's talking about. And we've been trying to figure out for a while, like, how does he do that? But Sharon had a question back about the flipped sessions again. So I'm going to let her address that.
Oh. Yes, I was just interested to know how many. I was interested to know how many people you actually had in the sessions, and what was their demographic. Were they all young, or was there a mixture? Did you have large numbers?
I'm going to count the chairs.
They're numbered. Looks like 180-ish, 185.
I would think
Maybe half.
70,
Yeah.
80, yes. 70 or 80 people.
78. So just a smaller type group then. Yes.
And you have two different tracks at the conference, right? You have a research track and a practice track, I think. Their video is frozen, so I'm not sure if they can hear us well. Oh no.
They might lose the connection.
Yeah. Okay, we have a backup option for entertainment. Aras has been doing some visualizations about eMOOCs and Rise of 15, or just eMOOCs?
Any eMOOC.
Okay, so show us something until we find out what's happening with Whitney and Ignash.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, people who are watching. I don't know what happened on the conference, but maybe the Wi-Fi got choppy. But Aras, go ahead and explain what it is you're going to show us.
1 second. I have to reopen the PowerPoint.
Here they come.
Okay. Learning is a natural, non-linear, multidimensional, and self-centered process. So during our journey in our learning, sometimes, we change our places. And I will now tell about a network story. There are some people from Rise of 14, EDC MOOC, and currently Rise of 15 is going on. This hybrid pedagogy thing, eMOOCs 2015. I will briefly explain and show you some visuals. Just like our hangout session, learners from Rise of 15 are all around. They are from different time zones. This means even though this is a sync event, because of the time zones, you can be naturally async from time to time. First of all, this is the first visual belongs to the Rise of 15 pre-week. I mean, before the MOOC. This was for me a warm-up session. This is Dave Cormier. You see, this is Maha. Before the week, there was a warm-up session, and people spread the word. No, there is a great MOOC is coming, and that is. This is the first week visual. You see the cows,
Aras, I'm not okay. Okay, I'm only seeing the front slide. Is everybody else seeing something beyond the front slide? No, everybody's okay. Now I'm seeing the second slide. This is week 1 that I'm seeing now.
Okay, can you see now?
I can see the babies.
I am changing. Okay.
Yeah.
Already I took I talk about this. I think when I make it full screen, you could not see whole slides. Anyway, this was what I was talking. We are from different MOOCs. RISO 15 is still going on. Some of us were in RISO 14 and EDC MOOC, and hybrid pedagogy thing and eMOOCs 2015. This is I just told you the time zones. This is our pre-week. I mean the warm-up week. And finally, yes, I get here. This is the chaotic part. You see, this is the whole network in Twitter. I think this week there were over 4,000 tweets between among 400 users. And this is the second week visual. You can see the flows. These are tweets actually, but I call them as exchange of ideas, information flow. And when I compare the first week visual, you see the size of the nodes. They are nearly equal. But in the second week, our roles are changing, so our importance, in our RISO network, are also changing. In the third week, the party is going on, so we go on listening to our RISO radio, and this visual belongs to week 4. There is some evolution. I see that number of the participants are decreasing, but when I look at the numbers, I see that the number of the interaction, the degree of the interaction is increasing. I think this is becoming more of a family, more than a community, a learning family. Everyone knows each other, and kind of interaction is not just learning, but also social issues. So there is a good learning community here. Okay, at the beginning of the slide, I told these learners, these wanderers are shifting their places, networks. In the fourth week, there was a decrease in the number of tweets, so we realized some of the people were just, went to do hybrid pedagogy training. And in this slide, what I see, these nodes are generally learners. They are discussing a lot, and there are some guys. This is Maha again. I can't see the names, even if they are too small for me now. These nodes have their own network, and the direction of the information is to the first cluster. I mean, where the real interaction and discussions are happening. But this pattern is quite normal for a training, because some experienced people and some trainers just want to train new learners. That's why there's a different pattern. And yes, this is from eMOOCs 2015. People wandering. It is still on the move. I got that visual last night. Probably it's changing and evolving now. But what I see, there are some important nodes, maybe some of them hubs, and there are different clusters, and people are talking about different things simultaneously. I think this is Dave Cormier, and probably this is the RISO community. I mean, who belongs to both of the communities. Yes. Now I will talk about bot teacher. In EDC MOOC last year, it was the third version of the MOOC. They use a bot teacher. It was really interesting. Even this bot teacher tweeted me. It was really funny. I will evaluate this in terms of community income, and especially in terms of teaching presence. This is first MOOC in EDC MOOC. In my opinion, EDC MOOC was a hybrid MOOC. I mean, some C and some X MOOC features were blended and presented to learners, but it is really a successful MOOC. what I see, here there are some lurkers. I really love them. They're just watching and trying to understand. Maybe they don't like participating, but this part is this cluster is belong to our bot teacher. When I look at this node, I see different nodes around him or it or her. Anyway, it is the rock star of the EDC MOOC. Other clusters are usually there were 5 teachers, by the way, in EDC MOOC, and each cluster belongs to one teacher. Yes, this belongs to week 2. Number of the lurkers are decreasing. Our bot teacher is still the rock star, and I feel there is a natural selection. At the beginning of every MOOC, there is a real chaos. People trying to understand, try to see, try to experience, and decide if they should continue or not. This is the week that many MOOCers decided, and there is a critical decrease in the number of the tweets. And this belongs to the 3rd week. This belongs to our bot teacher again. In the 3rd week, if you can realize, the interaction is more dense when I compare to real teachers in that MOOC and real learners. This is quite interesting. This visual belongs to the week 4. In this visual, I see that our bot teacher is still our rock star, but it also engaged with everyone within the whole community. That is really very good, and he got the whole control. There is a similar pattern like the week 4, and this is my last slide. This is after the EDC MOOC, 1 week later. Nearly there is no teacher. There is no one, but our bot teacher is still on duty, interacting. That's really cool. What I realized in EDC MOOC experience, I always believe that teaching presence with different aspects and real teacher presence is important. Bot teacher made a great contribution by engaging all the time with learners and keeping their enthusiasm and demand for learning alive. I think that is a very innovative idea, and I like that idea. I think that's all I will tell, but...
Sue had a question for you on the chat. Sue, go ahead.
Okay, by the way, did you see the changing slides or?
Yes.
Okay.
Sue, did you want to ask Aras?
It was just to ask if you're going to share those slides, because that was absolutely fascinating, and we went through that quite fast. It would be great to see it again, or whether you're going to record that with a voiceover. Did you plan to share it with the wider community?
Actually, we are sharing these visuals every Tuesday in our Riso group and on Twitter, but I can upload this slide to the SlideShare and share the link.
That would be great. It's just seeing that whole picture and then having heard you talk about it. That's it's really interesting. Yeah, because I've looked at those maps, and we use them for Bring Your Own Devices for Learning a couple of times now. But actually getting somebody to explain what it all means, and the terminology is really interesting. That's something I need to explore more actually with Mark Smith, who got us into all of this.
There's also another hangout that Aras did where he actually explains exactly how these things are done, right? So we can also share that link with you, Sue, and anybody else who's interested.
That would be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just heard from Whitney and Inge, and they can't join us again. So I think what I'll do is I'll end the live broadcast for people who are watching for eMOOCs 2015, and then if you guys want to chat for a few more minutes, we can just do that before we leave. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining. We're sorry that Dave Cormier couldn't make it, but it was fun meeting everybody here and meeting Inge and Whitney at the conference. And I'll see you all. I'll let you know when we're not broadcasting anymore, okay?
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.